Hey everyone, welcome to our level one mindset on goals. Okay, so for this section, I'm not going to go into too much depth, but we want to leave you with something actionable and also with a better understanding of how we can look at our goals, not only for future, but also in this challenge you find yourself specifically. Make sure you have the right expectations and guide you in a way that you just have to achieve it. And the question I'd ask is like, don't you think it would just be amazing for goals and this process that seems never ending and so difficult at times for it to just be something that you know has to happen and that you don't have to wait for Monday to start? That is something that I really, really want to help you guys with. And so when it comes to how the goals fit their purpose in this challenge and in your life, we need to make sure we've got our expectations set right. And that's what we want to help you with. So you've set the goal. Done. Amazing. You are here. Your need for change and your input into this process, that already just has to be given credit. Okay. So your need for change means that you are doing it. So you're already in the process, okay? We just need to manage how you are seeing this whole process and this journey ahead so that it just happens. And that is something that we want to help you with and reduce that friction and make sure that you are doing it in a way that it's meaningful to you and you specifically, okay? So, firstly, what we're going to do is we're going to ask questions, and I can't give you those questions, hence why you are here, and hence why we are going to have you sit down and start asking yourself some questions. So, I would say maybe just write down at least five, and that's going to be your starting point. But we have to ask ourselves questions about why this life we are after is not being lived today, okay, today specifically. And once we can do that, we'll then start bringing the awareness up around the limiting stories that we've always tended towards believing. And then only can we be courageous enough to start creating the new one. Okay, because that's essentially why we are here. I can tell you your goal. Your goal is to live a life where you feel fulfilled, where you feel like there's some purpose, where you enjoy being yourself, you like who you are, you feel like you can do hard things, and life just seems a little bit more beautiful when you wake up and you go through day-to-day things, and you don't just feel like you're always slugging through your days and you don't know how to achieve things. That's the goal. You want to live a life that you're proud of, okay? But there's a specific goal that we have set in the program, and to help you get there, you've got a lot of things to do. But if you are not aware of the limiting stories, anytime you try and go and do something, if you are still believing the old one, there's no way that you can create the life that you're after. Okay. We also don't want to see the goal as something that we set our self-worth on, whether we can achieve it or not, because if you do that, you are bound to fail. Okay? Your self-worth isn't coming from whether or not you can do hard work to achieve things. It's coming from if you are living a life that you are proud of living. Okay? So you want to go and ask yourself a few questions about the story. Now, you might have an idea. I would say go and look at what are the things that you struggle with, what are things you find difficult about being healthy, being active, and doing the things that you know essentially needs to happen. And also the things that you tend to try and stay away from. What are the things you are scared of? And how do you tend to deal with difficulty? It's a good place to start asking yourself some questions about what are the things that I used to believe about these things and how they fit into my life and how I deal with them. And in that process, we can start learning about what those stories used to mean and how we can move forward and start creating a new one. Because we are here to create. We are not here to fix things. We are not here to make up for things. We are here to create a story that we believe in. Okay? So firstly, in creating this new story, we want to then be able to live a life essentially where the goal is not the focus. We need to have the goal. The goal is the aim. Okay? We are aiming to get somewhere, but that is not the focus. It has to be very clear because it always needs to be the aim, but it's not the focus and it's not the thing that's going to determine our success along the way. Okay? In that aim for that goal, we're going to set tasks, which we have done. You've got a lot of things that's on your calendar, in your schedule that you are trying to get through, but we want to focus on these tasks in an experimental way. Okay? And if we set these tasks, these are aligned with the goal, with the aim, but we can ask ourselves along the way, in an experimental way, when I go into each one of these tasks, what is the story I used to believe? And what are these old stories telling me about the direction I need to go in? And you can keep in these experimental ways learning about what you actually enjoy and how you can live this life where you are always heading towards this goal. Okay. So we want to experiment in the ways to learn about the new story. Okay. This is something we're creating. Okay. So we are creating something and actively experimenting to learn and how we are wanting to live this life. Okay. So we don't want you to look at the tasks as something that you need to set, else you fail. These are tasks and metrics that are going to tell you how you are progressing. And that progress is going to happen based on the capacity that you have in your life to deal with everything you need to deal with. Okay. And so that's where your patience is going to come in so that you can deal with these things. But everything's an experiment so that we can learn how to create this new story. Okay. So it has to be in sync with what's true to you. Else, forget it. You're not going to be happy in this process. Okay. So we've asked some questions. We now know what the tasks are because you're in the program. You know what you need to be doing. And along these tasks, we're also going to try and really, really consider the old stories and experiment in these tasks with creating the new story. Okay. Then we need to understand what we need to accept. And the biggest part of that is resistance, because you'll have to accept the resistance that life will put in your way as a consequence of being yourself. Okay. If you start taking actions and making like decisions that are going towards you, essentially that means it's going away from other people. It's going away from the norms that are have been set around you. Okay. And so there are consequences to that, and there's going to be resistance around you. But once you can start making these choices that feel more aligned with yourself and do things that you can feel happy about, that'll always be a power within you that's so much more exciting, and the resistance that comes as a result is going to be much easier to push away. Okay. So accept the resistance. Okay. And so growth will always be something that's happening today, not starting on Monday. If you are always trying to live a life where you're learning about this new story and accept the resistance that's going to come with that and keep focusing on what really is going to bring you fulfillment. The goal is still the aim, but what are the principles and things that we want to live by and things that are going to bring us fulfillment? And that is where we're going to place our self-worth in the things that we know actually mean something to us. Okay. Now, in a practical way, when we think about fitness and whatever, like There's so many things you could be doing for exercise. There's so many ways that you could be dieting. There are so many ways that you can try and get your steps. Now, that's a blank slate for you to try and figure out. Now, whether you achieve it or not in these 6 weeks doesn't mean anything. How much you learn from actively engaging and creating this new life for yourself and how much you learn from that process, that is essentially what you are after. And if that is the case, you're going to be successful from this because you haven't placed all your self-worth on achieving a goal that you've set out. Goals are essentially extremely one-dimensional. And the most amazing thing about that is you are going to achieve something way, way, way more amazing in your life. Okay. The goal that you set out is based on a mindset that you find yourself in right now that is extremely one-dimensional. I want to lose X amount of weight. You won't. Maybe you will, maybe you'll lose more, but it's going to happen in a way that you can't actually have understanding around. There's no way for you really to understand what's going to happen. Okay? Like the thing is, the aim is there, but something way more special will happen, especially if you're finding fulfillment along the way. Okay? And the skills you are going to learn and the things that you will inevitably have to push through, what that means to you will be so much more special. Okay, you won't set a goal, achieve it, and be happy. You will set a goal, aim for it, realize that the goal is going to mean something completely different, and that is how you get to a point where you actually enjoy the journey and the process and not the destination. That'll happen in a way that's so much more beautiful, and you just have no idea what that's going to mean yet. Okay. It's like me trying to explain to someone what it feels like to be strong if you've only been weak, what it feels like to live a lifestyle you're excited by and be in good shape if you've only ever felt overweight and unhappy. I cannot explain that to you. There's no way, like picking up a heavy weight, you cannot fathom that because you have not done it. But once you go through that process several times, that is where you find the meaning, and that is why the goal will end up meaning so much more to you. Okay? So once we accept this resistance, we can understand the purpose of the goal. The purpose of the goal, I can tell you now, your goal is to live a life where you're happy in day-to-day things, you have fulfillment, you're taking actions, you're pushing through difficulty, you're achieving things along the way, you are laughing and you are just enjoying the process. And yes, being healthy and losing some weight and all these things is going to be something that's important along the way. But that's not where all your self-worth is placed. Your self-worth is placed on whether or not you just like being yourself, okay? So the purpose of the goal for most people is to get from here to there. You can't do that. You always tend to just find yourself here. I'm sitting right here, right now, talking to you. And I can't be anywhere else, right? I literally cannot be anywhere else, okay? And so if we understand that we can't do that, so then what do we think of this purpose of the goal? The purpose is for us to live a life as if we are winning, as if the goal is being achieved now. You you can't live as if you are losing because you can't magically then allow yourself to win. The main thing that I try and normally explain to people is most people are trying to avoid the life that they don't want to live. I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. Like, I don't want to get there. Like, you inevitably invite that into your life because that's constantly what you're avoiding, and then you bring that into your life. So that's why people end up waiting for Monday because they're always avoiding and end up living that avoidance lifestyle. So we want to think about how can we live as if we are winning? How can we live the life as if the goal is now being achieved? Because that's the only way the goal can be achieved is by doing it now. Okay. But it's also about how you see the goal. The goal isn't a place you get to and you're happy. The goal is something that you're aiming at and living a life that you're happy with and the results have to just come with that. Okay. So, lastly, I want you to think about living to your goal. Okay. Not that you've got this goal and this is the thing I need to get to. I need to achieve this thing. Goal is the aim, but I want to live a life towards the goal. Okay. Living as if the goal is achieved is how the goal serves its purpose in your life. So, like I said, what is the purpose of a goal? The goal isn't to get there and be happy. The goal is for you to have a sense of direction so that that direction serves the purpose of you being directed towards achieving something meaningful, working through difficult things, learning more about yourself, having fulfillment overall. And that is how you live to your goal, because then it actually serves the purpose of what it's trying to do in your life. But people have started to create this goal as the thing that's going to be everything. The goal is only the direction. So in this challenge, for example, you need to have a very clear idea of what this is going to mean for you. If this challenge means to you after 6 weeks or whatever, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to have lost the weight. All the results that I've never been able to do, I'm going to get there. You won't get there because that is based on a mindset of you trying to avoid the life that you've always lived. And those are the old stories. You need to create the new one. So this process needs to be something where you are seeing results in the direction you want to head, but you are trying to learn about yourself and the life that you're after. And this is just like a bit of an extra push, okay? You've got support, you've got steps, you've got so much. And so the main thing that if you put all your effort into just understanding these limiting beliefs that you've always had and using this process to learn about that, I promise you you'll get to the end and you would have learned so much about yourself. You would have seen results. You would have not taken everything literally and been like, oh, this week I didn't hit steps, so I failed. Like, you're going to learn and you're going to start getting to a point eventually in your life where you just end up living a life where it just feels like things are happening. You're living a life with purpose. Difficult things happen because you've accepted them as part of the resistance, and things are just going to happen in your life. The results are going to have to happen if you're happy with the life you live. Like, if I say to someone, I am happy with how I'm living life, that essentially means that I have to be doing things that I feel are things I'm proud of and there's fulfillment, but it has to come from a place where I see this new story as something that I'm creating and I'm engaged in and I'm accepting every single aspect of it because life is beautiful and life sucks at the same time. And that's amazing. All of that is special. Okay. So I really hope you can leave this really with a bit of purpose around how you're going to see these goals in this challenge. Start asking yourself the questions, and then in these tasks, start seeing where you are limited and where you are trying to fall back into those limited stories and self-beliefs, okay? And then next, we're going to go into more of these beliefs that we have and some mindset shifts you can make to make sure we see some progress in the right direction. So thank you for being here. Put in some work, okay? If you ask yourself one question, amazing, but really, really try and grasp this whole idea of what this goal is supposed to mean for you and where it is trying to aim you in life. Okay. This is not everything. It's just a little step you have taken. And we are proud of you for that. And so should you. So just engage with it and accept everything that comes along the way. And let's make the most of it. So see you in the next one, guys.